Kim here with Little Biz Resources, and this is at least take 8 of this video. And you say, why, Kim? Why would you have to do this 8 times? Well, 6 times were okay. I just decided to change the content. And then the seventh time, my computer glitched and my mouth and the content didn't line up. I didn't know that could happen outside of old movies. And what was that movie? Police Academy, right? That was a good one. Okay, so we're going to talk domain names and website hosting. Now, I'm going to try to make this shorter than the last one, even though I had some really good content for you. And I'm going to focus on a couple things. One is that where you get your domain name doesn't matter. And if you're brand new to this, your domain name is what people type into the bar, the URL, right? That's so www.easondisasterprep.com, or you can do it without the www and do easondisasterprep.com. Whichever one you choose doesn't matter. You're going to be putting this part in, right? You're going to put that part in to wherever you get domain names. I'll make a recommendation in a moment. Now, domain names are, again, what people type in. Website hosting is where your actual physical site is hosted, and it usually has some sort of IP address. And this is not a real one. I just randomly typed some numbers. Well, it might be a real one, but don't go to it because I don't know where it goes. Don't go to it. Who knows where it goes? So a lot of companies like GoDaddy or Namecheap or the one we're going to be using, Float Hosting, they allow you to purchase the domain name and you can skip some steps with connecting the domain name to the hosting. The reason I don't recommend getting your domain name and your hosting necessarily on the same place is because if you change your hosting, like let's say you're like, oh, I don't like this hosting, I need to change it to some other hosting company that meets my needs better. Then some of them they make it very hard to detach them. Now, I use something called Little Biz Domains. Now, Little Biz Domains is actually, sound familiar? Little Biz Resources, Little Biz Domains. This is ours. This is my sister and I have this one, Little Biz Domains. We are GoDaddy resellers, right? So you can come in here and you don't need to get hosting or anything from this. I would just get domains. Same thing if you're going to do GoDaddy, I would just get domains. I'm not a huge fan of their hosting because, I don't really want to say why. But I don't like their hosting at all, or maybe it's just their customer service, I don't know. But I like being able to manage my domains for a low cost. This website is freaking glitchy as can be. Do not ask me why. It's a freaking reseller site, right? Reseller site. It should be really easy. They had us set it up. They're the ones that walked us through it. It still doesn't work. They can't figure it out. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But once you get it set up, like once you have your domain names on here, there's no issues. I mean, I haven't really had any issues. So instead, we just register the domains, and our price on here is $13.99 a year. GoDaddy has one. I think they have a special right now where it's 1 cent for the first year, but you have to buy 3 years, and they're 20 something dollars a year. So you get 1 cent for the first year, 20 something, you're paying 40 something dollars up front. And I don't like to pay $40 up front for a website. I like to pay year by year. You can save some money buying, like if you were to buy this for 10 years, which I think is the max, you can save some money because over the next few years, this will go up. We have no choice. We're at like 70 or 80 cents above the reseller amount. And that just helps cover the cost of the monthly payments that we pay. So we don't make any money on this, at least not so far. I mean, if like a bunch of you buy stuff, maybe we make a few bucks, but we're probably not going to make much. And so we do this to keep the price down as much as we can for our friends and family and people that we know. And so you are more than welcome to do Little Biz Domains. The other benefit to purchasing a domain through here is that if something goes wrong and you need help setting something up, you just assign Little Biz Domains to access the DNS records, and I can do that. Don't worry. If you do this, I'll walk you through that if you ever have issues. So that is another benefit of Little Biz Domains. Now, you can come in here and you can search for a domain name. You can go to GoDaddy, you can go wherever. If you're like, hey, I don't know what kind of name I want. There are a couple different ways you can do it. You can go on ChatGPT and ask. I'm not a fan of that, even though it's fun. I'm not a fan of that because it comes up with a bunch of domain names that are already used. GoDaddy actually has a GoDaddy name domain. name generator. And you can come in, that was Squarespace, and this free domain name generator, and you can say, like, I'm going to do disaster preparedness. I already have a name picked out, but we're going to do disaster preparedness. And so disasterpreparedness.com, $24,900. Yeah, I'm not getting that one. But you can come down and see some other ones. They have some .com, .us, .life. I do not, one, this is promoted. I don't recommend any of these other extensions. I recommend finding a .com. And if you absolutely cannot find a .com, you can do a .net, but I would only do a .net if the .com isn't being used. So like if disasterpreparedness.com, I'll knock it off. If disaster, I do not know what this is going to bring up. If disasterpreparedness.com was not available, it's not, then you can check and see if disasterpreparedness.net is available. What are you doing here? Go back. .net. So if that one was available instead and they are not, it's not available. So I also don't recommend dashes. People can't figure out how to type those. Heck, I can't figure out how to type those half the time. But you can literally, you can go into that name generator and keep looking. There's a ton of other ones as well. If you want to go through and find them. I actually, and you can see eastondisasterprep.com is the one that I just purchased. Now, the reason why I did this, disaster prep is similar to the keyword match. I don't want to do preparation because one, nobody can spell it or very few people can spell it. Two, even those who can spell it don't want to type it out that much. And prep is an easy one that's recognizable. So disaster prep is super simple. It is actual like a keyword for it. So in fact, I can show you that. We can double check that. If you want to, I have keywords everywhere on here, which we talked about in a different one. So if you're doing your keyword research, you may already have a keyword identified. I'm going to put in disaster. Whoa, I'm going to spell it right though. See, I can never type when I'm doing these. So disaster prep has 320 searches per month. So it's literally a keyword that people type in. Now, keep in mind, if you didn't watch my other video, so I guess here's information if you didn't watch my other video, keep in mind if you did watch my other video, that this volume is just an arbitrary number. It doesn't, all it is to be used in comparison with other keywords. So like if there's a keyword that's 1,000 per month, that's more. When you're doing your domain name, I would just make sure that there's something other than 0 here. So higher than. If there's a negative amount, screenshot and send it to me because that would be cool. So I think that you don't have to have a keyword in here, and I would argue Amazon proved that, but it's hard to get a single name. So in this case, Easton Disaster Prep is pretty simplistic. It narrows it down. I also did a trademark search. So you want to do a trademark search if you can, especially if you're using something other than a generic name. Even if you are using a generic name, you should do a trademark search so nobody can try to tag you later for it. So if you just go to the searchuspto.gov site, and then you can type in, I'm going to do Easton Disaster Prep because that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to say search. Am I on the wrong site? Search for a trademark. Search for a trademark. Easton Disaster Prep. All right, there we go. So lots of stuff come up with Easton. I hate seeing Easton and Dead together. It just, gives me anxiety. That's my last name. So anyway, so you have some that are canceled in here, and Easton in and of itself is going to be really difficult. Easton Home Accents. It's this way. It would be really difficult if eastonhomeaccents.com was not taken. I don't think that they could claim that you can't take that. But they could file something still. I mean, they could file anything for any reason. But it's better not to have anything that matches. So there is nothing in here that matches Easton Disaster Prep. Ooh, Easton Technology. Oh, still dead. See? Every time, Easton and Dead. Ooh. Yeah, so you can scroll through and you can see there's nothing that's really Easton and disaster related. And disaster prep in and of itself is a generic enough. It's going to show up in different things. So it's risky, but not super risky because disaster prep is very generic. So do the trademark search. Make sure that you're not stealing somebody's exact match trademark name before you do it. I don't know why they wouldn't get the .com if it was available. That's kind of, I feel like if I were a judge, I'd be like, dude, you should have just paid the $20 and got it or whatever, right? So anyway, so domain name, website hosting. So domain name, we're gonna go to Little Biz Resources, and for hosting, and I'll put a link in the in the description. This is Float Hosting. Now it starts at $5.95. This is what they call shared web hosting. These are inexpensive. This is very inexpensive. They are not, if you're going to do a like dedicated IP, you're starting a lot higher. I say that loosely. There is some options for IP addresses that are less shared that are still cheap, but not very good. So here you've got, if you want to do just one website and get started, it's $5.95 a month. I have this one, the Battleship plan, for $17.95 a month. Here's the limit, up to 500,000 monthly visits. So I think if you abuse their plan, like if you like have this website that's massive, regardless of your monthly visits, they may reach out and say, "Hey, look, you've got way too much content on your site. You need to, or on your account, we need to reevaluate." I don't know. I haven't had that problem yet, so can't tell you for sure if it's going to happen. But you can look and see in these plans. Like I said, I have this one. I have like 10 or 12 domains on there, but they maybe get a couple thousand visits between them. So the ones I'm working on now are the ones I'm expecting to get more visits. Worst case scenario is you can always break out. Let's say you have 5 and they're all getting 100,000 visits. You can break them all out so that they're each on their own Battleship plan. I have done that with them before. And again, the float hosting support is amazing. Now, again, this is take number 8 at least. So I'm going to skip some stuff that I forgot about, but I want to make sure you guys understand. I have been doing website development. So messing with hosting, messing with domain names, messing with WordPress for 27 years in web design. And I wouldn't call myself an expert, but I'm pretty good at it now. And I specialize with WordPress and I like WordPress. And because of that, and you're like, wait, don't I go to WordPress.com? We're going to look at WordPress.com for a free website later. You can do that for hosting if you want. The free website, if you're like, hey, I just want a free website, you can do a free one on there. You can't get a domain name then, and they run ads. So if you want to make money from your website, you probably want to get your own plan. And shared hosting is a good one to start with. And if you want to do a dedicated one later, you can. Okay, so just start with float hosting. If you're like, hey, I have no idea. If you have a hosting provider you like, just go there. Right? I'm just now finishing up moving all of my websites onto this one because I was using Cloudways before, which they're okay. But something happened. Like they did a change in the last like year or two, and none of my websites, I had multiple servers, and none of my websites, whether it was one website on a server or multiple websites on a server, none of them were fast anymore. And I'm like, this is dumb. I can't get into the admin side. Everything was so sluggish. So they obviously changed something. So I'm like, I don't want them anymore. I'm like, I'll go at, we tested float hosting and I had float hosting before, like many years ago. They've changed things since then. This one's sped up a lot more. So I change website hosting every few years, which is why I have my domain name separate. So I can just redirect them to wherever my hosting is, right? I control the domain name, move it here. I direct it to this site. And then I'm like, oh, no, I'm changing it. Now I just build it here and move it over. And it's not that hard to switch them, to move them over. So float hosting, I'll put a link in the description, or you can just go to floathosting.com. And those are the 2 I recommend. Now, goals for the end of this one are get the domain name, get the hosting wherever it is. Like I said, float hosting I recommend. In the next video, I'll show you how to change the name servers for your domain for anybody who gets it separate like I do. And then I will also show you how to set everything up on float hosting. Okay, those are, it's not hard, but I'll show you those steps. And then we'll have a fresh WordPress site and we'll be able to work from there. All right, so that is it for this video. And if you have questions, you can hop into the Facebook group. You can leave them in the comments here, whichever, and I will answer what I can. So until then, I will see you in the next one. Thanks.